The Vikings, coming off a bye week, figured, or at least I did anyway, as a Vikings fan, that you could just sit back, take this week, and enjoy football as a pure fan. Stress-free, nothing to raise hell about. And yet, despite not having a game to play at all for the Vikings in week 13, the aftermath is they're in a tight-ass logjam in the NFC playoff picture. As it stands right now, the Eagles, they've got the 1 seed, San Francisco, the 2 seed, big win for them over the Eagles last night on the road at the Link. They're still in play for the top seed overall in the NFC conference. Detroit, they've got the 3 seed, Atlanta 4 seed, Dallas the 5 seed, and they're still in play to possibly get the 1 or 2 seed, depending on if they can win the NFC East division going up against Philly. And then after that, you've got a 4-way tie, not necessarily a tie. The Vikings do have the 6th seed if the playoffs were to start today, but you do have a 4-way tie at 6-6 between the Vikings, the Packers, the Rams, and Seattle. And then after that, you've got 2 teams just a game back, Tampa Bay and New Orleans, both at 5-7. The Vikings currently control their own destiny as the 6th seed. They currently hold the head-to-head tiebreaker over Green Bay, beating them earlier in the year, take 2 to follow. And even if the Rams were to keep up with the Vikings, if the records are the same between both teams, the Vikings have a better overall conference record, 6-3, to the Rams, 4-4. So you're sitting pretty. Every decision that you make or do not make could be the difference, with 2/3 of the season being done, 5 games left. Every decision or play that you make or do not make could be the difference between making the postseason and missing it altogether. Talking about the impact of those scenarios, this will be the last time that I harp on this, but this really explains it. The last 2 games for the Vikings, you're on a 2-game losing streak against Denver and Chicago. Both games, coaching, playing timid with leads. And in the case of Chicago, I mean, if I were to tell you, listen, you're going up against one of the worst teams in the league at home. If you, as an offensive-minded head coach, can score more than 12 points, you win. The defense, they won't even give up a touchdown. It's nothing but field goals. Score more than 12 points, you win. Would you take that bet? Absolutely. And unfortunately, it didn't work out, I would say, mostly because of coaching. That's the difference right now. We're talking about the 6th seed and 6-6. Whereas if you coached better the last 2 games, you're 8-4 and you're pushing the Lions for the NFC North division, which I would say, barring some sort of epic collapse by the Lions, it's over with. Technically, you're still in it. And if there really is any team that's going to absolutely blow it, it is the Lions. The last 2 weeks, they lost to Green Bay on Thanksgiving, and they nearly blew a 21-0 lead yesterday against New Orleans. But that's the difference between hosting a playoff game and, more realistically speaking now, if you are going to make the playoffs, however long you are in the playoffs, it's going to be on the road the entire time. But you can't make any mistakes, because the Green Bay Packers, you look at their remaining schedule, it's a bit of a cakewalk. They've got, after beating the Chiefs last night, they've got Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants. They've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is, besides the Vikings, I would say that's going to be their toughest matchup the rest of the way. The worst team in the league, the Carolina Panthers, and they're going to end the season against Chicago. They're going to have nothing left to play for. They're going to bench all their starters. That's going to be an easy win for them. The Rams, they do have a little bit of a struggle. They've got Baltimore and San Francisco the rest of the way. San Francisco at the end of the year for LA, who they're going to be playing for the 1 seed. They're going to have something to play for. Seattle's schedule is a bit rough. And in the case of the 4th seed in the NFC, right now, Atlanta, they hold that spot. If you're a Vikings fan, you would rather root for Tampa Bay to leapfrog Atlanta. So that way, Atlanta, they replace Tampa Bay and you're fighting with them. You have the head to head tiebreaker over the Falcons and the Saints for that matter. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say I don't want the Vikings to be in a position. I hate when you're in a position where you're like, all right, we got to handle our business, but we need help from this team or this team. Please lose, or we're rooting for teams that we normally root against for the sake of beating some other team so that we have a shot. You've got a chance to handle your own business, handle your own ish, and there's nothing to worry about. You've got coming up the Aiden O'Connell-led Las Vegas Raiders, the Jake Browning-led Cincinnati Bengals, and then you've got 3 games in the division, 2 against the Lions, 1 against the Packers. That's going to have some heavy impact. Handle your own stuff, and you'll be fine. Lastly, I saw a report by Diana Rossini of The Athletic that, according to her, early indications are that the Vikings are going to stick with Josh Dobbs. I'm not going to react to that. I do have thoughts on that if that actually happens, but I'm not going to react to inclinations or hunches. I want to see, they do have a practice today following the bye, so we'll see as far as who gets the first team reps. That's going to really be a telltale sign as far as who the Vikings, who Kevin O'Connell is ready to roll with. But I'm going to wait until we get more concrete information, more substance behind the thought or the rumors before I actually react to it. But the Vikings, they're in the playoff hunt. You control your own destiny. Let's get it done.